Hey, friends, welcome back to the Called to Lead podcast. So, today's episode is going to be kind of a big one because I'm actually going to be tackling one of the subjects that I started my podcast with over 2 years ago, which was the realization that I had that social selling, which has kind of become the buzzword for network marketing, direct sales, as the rise of social media has impacted, well, pretty much everything, but definitely has impacted this industry. But I realized back then that social selling and the skills and the strategies and all the things that were being taught are quite different from everything I had learned in the traditional network marketing, direct sales space. And I was feeling confused. I was feeling a little bit frustrated, and it actually caused me to completely take my business off of social media. If anything, to try to kind of prove a point that you do not have to build a huge following in order to build a big business. So I've shared my entire journey in the 2 years since then, where I have stepped back into social media, and I'll share a little bit of where I am with that thinking and that mindset today. But today, 2 years later, I am going to be sharing why I believe that not only are there distinct differences in the business models of network marketing and social selling, I am just going to put something pretty big out there, which is I think social selling is actually hurting the network marketing or direct sales industry in some key ways. So I'm going to be sharing my top 5 ways or reasons in this episode, but I know this is a bigger conversation that I will be sharing and having and inviting some top coaches and people that you've heard of in the industry to kind of share their thoughts on it in the months to come. So I'm going to kind of let this be an episode that I think will kick off a bigger conversation. But let's dive into the actual episode today, where I'm going to be sharing the 5 ways that social selling is actually hurting the network marketing industry. Okay, so if you are in network marketing like me, whether it's Saint, the company that I'm a part of, or any other company, or maybe you're just an entrepreneur of some sorts, you probably have a certain dedicated time that you have available to work your business, right? Where you're like, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to get it done. And if you're smart, you're time blocking and you're using that time in an income producing way. Well, how many of you guys find yourself in that time feeling kind of called to just go to that little Instagram app, or maybe for you it's TikTok or Facebook, and next thing you know, 45 minutes or an hour of your life is gone. And maybe it's sucked up in things that do bring you joy. Maybe even if you're a believer like me, it could be Bible verses and sermons and fun recipes and workout routines, whatever it is that you're into. But what's happened now that the Instagram, Facebook, Meta, of course, they're owned by both of them, TikTok, that's a whole other thing. They have figured out how to feed you whatever it is that's going to keep you on that app the longest. And there's been entire documentaries about this. You can watch the social dilemma. If you haven't seen that one, it's really, really good. So that's not what this podcast is about. But what it is about, and what I want to ask you is, what does that do to your heart when you go to spend an hour scrolling, lost in the scroll on social media? So the reason I'm saying this, and I'm going to be pretty vulnerable and admit this to you guys right now, that has been me in the last 2 weeks. Meaning I went for 2 years without getting lost in the scroll on Instagram to somehow now slipping back into this addiction that is leading into some really unhealthy thought processes that are creeping into other facets of my life. And it wasn't until yesterday and a conversation I had with a dear friend, and then a kind of a big God wink that I had in the form of an email from a new fan of the podcast that dropped in my inbox today, that really kind of snapped me out of whatever this kind of haze that I've been in the last couple of weeks. And it brought me back to the bigger purpose and the message that I really feel like the Lord, again, put on my heart years ago with this concept that social selling, which is essentially using platforms like Instagram or TikTok to build a massive following in order to build your network marketing business. And again, I won't go into the ways that it's different because I went back and listened to the episode I did over 2 years ago about the differences with that. And I'm going to link it in the show notes. And I do want you to listen to it after this episode because I outline exactly how the principles being taught in social selling are really counter to the principles that not that long ago were what was being taught by the top network marketing coaches. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't some coaches out there that don't do a beautiful job of integrating the messaging, in terms of, yes, you can use, for example, social media to build or to market your business in a way. But what I see happening in the industry, despite these awesome coaches finding a way to innovate and shift with the market and use what is a great tool when it comes to marketing, and that's social media, I'm seeing it create this rise of the influencer, if you will, which I think is wreaking havoc on the traditional model of network marketing. And so that's what this episode is going to be about, is sharing 5 ways. And regardless of how you feel about this or wherever you are, because I know I have a lot of influencers with massive followings that listen and enjoy this podcast. So this isn't to say you're doing the wrong thing. In fact, that's the opposite of what I'm saying. If you love content creation and you find joy and purpose and fulfillment in that, girl, keep on doing it. It's a beautiful business model and it's a beautiful thing for you, but it's something very, very, very few people can duplicate, which is why it's creating probably a problem for your business, which is probably why you're listening to my podcast. So whether you're an influencer or, which probably most of my customers fall into this, or listeners fall into this category, and that is you are in network marketing, but you have not seen success in your business yet, or is the success that you want to see. Maybe you're starting to get going, but you have big dreams and goals and you want to do more with your business, but you're feeling stuck, confused, a little bit like, what do I do? Where do I go from here? And this will be definitely directly associated to you. And then the third group that might be listening, because I'm going to be sending it to them and getting their opinion, are coaches and top leaders within the industry who I think, or I know because I'm having conversations with them and I'm experiencing it myself, are kind of at this crossroads, whatever company that you're in, of not even knowing like how to teach or coach or guide people in this environment that we are experiencing right now in social media or in network marketing. So that's what today's episode is going to be about. And I'll break it down into the 5 ways and go a little deeper on each of them. So the first way is essentially what social selling is it's affiliate marketing kind of wrapped in a package of network marketing. It's also like attraction marketing, which I learned early on in my network marketing career is something that is really difficult to teach and something that's very hard to duplicate and something that you should avoid. And so affiliate marketing in and of itself is just sharing a link, building a following to where enough people click that link. And network marketing has caught a hold of that because most affiliate marketing companies like Like to Know It or Amazon, you're going to get a really, really tiny percentage. Whereas in network marketing, if they click your link, you're going to get a huge percentage, anywhere from 20 to 40 to 50%, depending on the company and the comp plan structure of it. And so it's very enticing for influencers that are out there that, again, love content creation, that just, it lights them up. They're making an impact on the world and they're pursuing their God-given purpose by creating the content online using the affiliate marketing influencer strategy, right? But so they're drawn to the industry of network marketing, as they should be. It can be a great way for them to make great money. It can be a way for them to serve people through the business model. But essentially, that is just for a very small group of people, which Bob Heilig says it's less than 1%. I always just say 1% because I'm like, shoot, 99%, that means 99% of people don't want to do that. They don't think they can do that. And quite frankly, it's really freaking hard because it involves a lot of work. It involves a crap ton of strategy that is different for different industries, right? And so that's the way, or the reason that it's wreaked such havoc, is what it takes to build a following online or on social media is not what it takes to build your network marketing business. In fact, it's counter to it, as you'll see the additional ways, because network marketing was essentially designed, and this is why I believe it's the best business model in the world for those who do have an entrepreneurial heart. They want to serve others. They want the fulfillment that comes from that. They love connections. They love building relationships, and they can actually monetize that beautiful gift through the power of network marketing, which is meant for anyone. Anybody can and should be able to do this if we're getting it right, which again is why I think we're getting it wrong. Because if you're trying to do it through the influencer way, or if that's what we're teaching or coaching our people to do, then they're going to likely fall short, or they're not going to want to do it at all. Because how many of you guys have ever had someone say to you, I remember my very best friend, it's probably the reason she's never even bought my product, which is the makeup from me, my best friend from college. She flat out told me one day, I could not do what you do. And what's funny is she actually did wind up joining a network marketing company in that kind of little phase when she told me that, because the coach, that the person that had told her, was going with more the network marketing strategies, which was building off the relationships that she had built as a nurse and building her business that way. So she didn't wind up sticking with it, I think just because, life and 4 kids get in the way. But I remember very clearly when she said, I could never do what you do. And at that time, I was showing up like an online influencer, right? And so that's the number one way that I think this only focusing on let's find a ways to go viral or, build this big following, that is, it's hurting. It's not helping businesses because it is a different business model. Affiliate marketing, attraction marketing is a different business model, different industry than network marketing. And again, you can listen to my podcast if you want me to go down more reasons why they're very, very different. But that's the number one reason. The number two reasons is the top performers, the ones that sell the most because they've got the biggest following, whether they're brand new in the business. So then therefore, when they integrate a new product into the mix, they're automatically going to have a really good success. Or maybe they've got the confidence and, the kind of swagger, maybe they're hilarious, so that when they do decide to follow the strategies that work for online influencers and they are sharing their product or the value behind the product online, they then have a ton of success in selling it. And again, this is going to be less than 1% of people that do it. But the problem and the reason it's creating an issue in the industry is that's who the other 99% of people are seeing. And those people, those 99% of the people and corporate are seeing that as the leaders or the most successful in the business. And so, of course, what do people want to do? They want to duplicate that. They want to emulate that. They want to go for that. Or again, they feel like they have to go for that. When in reality, when I keep going, you'll see that these are going to layer and build. It's actually a little bit challenging. And so again, the reason number two is because these top performers, these influencers, the people who have the biggest followings, people assume are the top leaders. When in reality, and I know this will sting if you fall into this category, but their leadership isn't quite working for them. It's not duplicating. They're not having leaders. And I just had someone ask me this week. She just said, why do you think that, with this many direct artists, no one is doing anything? And I'm like, I can tell you why. I can tell you why. Pick me. I've been talking about this for years. And so this is a reason, is that people assume because they're more public, because they have the bigger followings, because they're constantly putting themselves out there every single day, and they are being diligent, they're using their gifts, and they've got that personality, right? But that's who people are seeing, and that's who they assume are the ones that are getting it right. They're the ones that are having the most success or making the biggest impact. But in reality, the reason their business isn't growing is number three reason why the social selling is creating issues within the network marketing industry, and that the number one thing that builds businesses and builds leaders in this business is connection. And that is really freaking hard to do in mass. So if you've got, thousands of people watching your stories, or you have hundreds of DMs every time you do a post, or hundreds of comments, or maybe it's text messages if you're using an app like Project Broadcast or Go High Level, and maybe you aren't making the kind of income to where you've got personal assistants and people helping you with that back end stuff. It can be really overwhelming when you have this high volume, especially if it happens suddenly because maybe you had one of your reels go viral, which I see happen. I mean, again, it doesn't happen that often, but it absolutely does happen, and it creates overwhelm. And I, for example, had a direct artist of mine who was an influencer. She probably had the biggest following of anyone that has joined my team. And that's been one of the biggest things for her, is just trying to navigate the additional workload that comes when she shares an additional product. And so connection, meaning going deeper, actually getting to know someone, helping them feel seen and heard, holding their hand to get them to that first rank, All of these things are really difficult to do when you have a ton of people who are joining you, or you have a ton of customers who you're not even sure who to connect with about the artist program, or you just have a ton of engagement happening. So, connection, which is always going to be the thing that creates the inspiration, the relationships, the community, the culture that's the best part of this business model, it's really, really hard to do when you've got this big following and when you're spending your time, your energy, and in a lot of cases, a lot of money on building up this big following online. So, what happens from this, because connection is hard, is not only are people not growing or not seeing a level of leadership, which is why we call it a pancake when someone has enrolled a lot of people, but nobody's really doing anything. And this is what most, not all, but most online influencers or people that really focus a majority of their time and energy on growing their following or growing their personal business online in a big way. You should always focus on your personal business, but what I'm talking about is in this like massive influencer affiliate marketing way. Well, what happens with that is they build a wide team, but there's no duplication. It doesn't go deep. But what also happens is, unfortunately, that's a lot of people who potentially could do big things in this business who aren't getting served. And there are even some influencers, they're technically, again, network marketers, but they are pretty upfront about the fact that they don't intend to lead or do any of the things required that honestly, I think are a little bit of a responsibility that comes with this business model versus something like the influencer model. And so it breaks my heart because it happens all the time to me. I know it happens a lot of times to leaders who are ranking and growing and their business is still thriving. They'll have people reach out that are on another team that they're not getting helped or not getting served. And I still help them. I know they do too. And having that abundance mindset is amazing. But that's why this is a problem and why it's creating an issue within the network marketing business model, is because there's all of these people. In fact, I would even say it might even be a majority of the people that enroll on any company. I know in ours, with it being a beauty company, obviously it lends well towards the influencers, but they're enrolling with these influencers and they're not getting served and they're not getting plugged in. They're not getting that community, the culture, which is the best part. And that is a problem. And it really breaks my heart. And I don't exactly know what the solution is, but that's why I'm having the conversation to begin with. So that's the number 3 reason, is that connection, which is the key piece to building your business and growing your team, and duplication is really, really hard to do at that mass level. Okay, number 4 reason is also kind of tied to the number 3. You can see how each of them builds. And that's because there's not really a lot of freedom or personal freedom, time freedom in that way of doing it. Meaning when all of your income or most of your income is tied to your own personal effort, because you're out there busting your butt, having high sales, and you're, a top seller and you're going for that and you're driven by like seeing your name at the top of the leaderboard. And that's like where your focus and energy is. But because it's not duplicating, like go to the last one, right? And you're not having other people have success, your income is tied 100% or maybe not 100%, but heavily towards your own output. So if you get burned out, if you get overwhelmed, if you confuse your audience by maybe shifting your focus into a bunch of different things, if the algorithm, which is completely out of our control, shifts, or like something like TikTok completely goes away, all of these things are going to impact your business because you haven't built the leveraged or passive income that is the best part of this business model, which is built by helping other people win, not just having yourself win. Okay. And so again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't create the content or that you shouldn't pursue the business. And maybe it's about managing expectations, but essentially, when you are pursuing this path, and this is what, again, people are experiencing, a small percentage, but it's what everyone's going for. Not everyone, but what so many people are striving for by trying to emulate what they see these top influencers do and assuming they're a top leader, right? It just leads to no freedom, which is not fun. Okay, so that leads to the last thing. So when your income starts to drop, again, maybe it's algorithm based, maybe it's the life cycle of your company in some way, maybe you're just tired of, it's like, this is a repetition business model too. That's the thing that builds network marketing is it's a system that you do over and over and over and over again. Well, it can be really tiring as an influencer to say and do the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again. You technically can do that. Now, your audience might get a little bit tired of it, but you might could find new people, or again, that could be creating this reduction in your sales. Or maybe you're burned out, so you're not putting as much out there anymore, and you're not seeing the results because of that. But what happens is when your income is down because your personal performance is down, or because your team again is frustrated because they're not living up to the massive results that you've achieved, which are, I don't want to say unattainable, but hard to attain, very, very hard to attain at their level. And that leads your paycheck to drop, which guess what that then does? It makes you want to go join another company or add in an additional network marketing product to supplement that income. And in a lot of cases, it actually works because, again, you've got that following, they're seeing something new. And when you share whatever it is, in addition to what you're sharing, people are going to jump on it and it'll raise your income. But is that really what you're wanting, is a bigger paycheck? Or are you wanting something that creates true freedom, true fulfillment in your business? And so that leads us to the number 5 reason why I think this is hurting, and the last one that we'll talk about, at least in this episode, and that it leads to this shiny object syndrome. And it makes people feel like everyone's doing this because you're seeing a lot of these influencers divide, by, again, using the affiliate marketing strategy of repping multiple companies and being this online influencer presence. And they're sharing multiple products, which is creating the shiny object syndrome that's distracting for 99% of the rest of their teams, because they're like, oh, wait, do I need to go add in this additional, skincare, or this, gut health and wellness thing, or this fitness program, or whatever, because people do what they see you do. And whether you're their leader or whether someone on your team, or like on my team, they're not seeing me do it, but they're seeing other people do it. And so I even had one of my amazing directs. She was like, are you and I the only people not doing this? And I was like, no, that is not the case. I was like, here's a bunch of people who are not doing it, who are all, amazing leaders. Not that the ones who are doing it aren't amazing people or aren't amazing friends, and I love them, and you got to do what you got to do. But it looks or can feel like when you get lost in the Instagram rabbit hole, like I have been doing, right? And you're stuck in that zone. Every time you scroll, you see someone else like adding another product or adding something else. And especially if your company like ours is, Saint, is in what's called the shakeout, which is about 5 to 7 years into every single network marketing company's business model, you're going to have the leaders who didn't have the success that they hoped, likely because they weren't creating duplication. And again, in this case, because in a lot of cases, they were building by using the attraction marketing business model, which doesn't duplicate. They also, there's a recent episode I did which it says the 5 reasons your business is going backwards, where I talked about they're placing structure, they're funneling orders to make, their rank or get paid at their rank, which is always 100% of the time going to make your business go backwards. It's a short-term gain for a long-term loss, but I see it happen all the time. Or they've got these shiny, fancy, expensive, in a lot of cases, systems that they could never even dream of telling someone else how to do, let alone them figure out how to do it on their own, because they don't have the time to tell them how to do it, right? So there's more in that episode that I'll also link in the show notes if your business is going backwards, and maybe it's one of those things. Also, actually, one of those other things is it's fear-based, right? Like if you're choosing fear of like, oh no, what if my company is not going to, do as well as I'd hoped it should because this, top leader influencer is sharing this other product. Do I need to go do that too? And so again, that's where this is creating this shiny object syndrome where people feel like they have to do it. And so Bob Heilig has done multiple episodes talking about this as well. So definitely check out his podcast, as he's doing an amazing job of talking about this and how it even relates to the new FTC non-compete, like getting rid of non-competes within all companies. That of course includes network marketing. And so it's just wreaking havoc essentially on the hearts of 100%, or maybe not 100%, but a huge chunk, the network marketers that are out there, because they're seeing this happen where in every case, in every situation, people are looking to the shiny objects, the influencers that, again, they think are the top leaders, and they feel like they have to do what they are doing in order to be successful in their business. And I'm here to tell you, friends, but that is not the case. It doesn't mean that, again, if your gifts and skill sets are centered around content creation and you find joy and fulfillment in that, and you have a dream of being an online influencer, then go for it, friend. But if that is not you, because I can tell you it's not me, you don't have to do that. What you do have to do is focus on relationships, connections, conversations with the people, starting with the people that you know, which are very scary. I know this is coming from someone who's terrified to talk about the opportunity because I had a bad experience in another company, right? But I do it anyway when I feel like someone would be great at what I do. And every time I choose to overcome the fear of whatever the scary thing is and choose the best case scenario that could happen, every time, first of all, the Lord blesses that because it's faith, and that's what He wants us to do is believe that His plans are better than anything that we could dream for ourselves. And when we trust those inspirations, especially when they're scary, and we dive in and we take the actions and we have the conversation and we post that piece of content, whatever that might be, not with the intention of trying to build some massive following. Whenever we do that, we feel like fulfilled because we're like, I did it and I didn't die and I can do it again and again and again and again. And you're always going to have scary things in your business in life, right? The entire way. But you shouldn't let fear be the thing that leads to the inaction, or fear be the reason that you choose to go emulate something that I'm telling you is going to create an issue when they move to this new company, because the same problems, this is a universal problem, I believe. And so I definitely am excited to continue this conversation about these, the social selling versus network marketing, how they're different, how they're impacting each other. And I definitely want to invite, again, some industry leaders into this conversation as well. So if maybe you've got a network marketing coach, send this episode to them. That's what I would ask. If you have a top leader or you are a top leader, send this, episode to your other leaders. Let's get this word out there. And I really think this is an important conversation to have. And so thank you for listening today and for joining me in this conversation. And there's going to be lots more to come. So thank you guys. Bye.